Bodhisattva Never Slighting. Chapter 20.
Chapter 20 describes the merit derived from upholding and teaching the Dharma Lotus Sūtra, as demonstrated by the story of Bodhisattva Never Slighting. This chapter also describes the offenses that result from slandering those who uphold the Dharma Lotus Sūtra, as demonstrated by the fourfold assembly of bhikṣus, bhikṣuṇīs, upāsakas, and upāsikās, who mistreat Bodhisattva Never Slighting, and thereafter suffer great torment in the Avīci Hells. However, after undergoing their retribution in the hells, they once again encounter Bodhisattva Never Slighting, who teaches them and leads them to aspire to anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi.
At that time, the Buddha said to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Great Strength, "You should now know that if people revile, abuse, or slander a bhikṣu or bhikṣuṇī, an upāsaka or upāsikā, who upholds the Dharma Lotus Sūtra, they will suffer severe retribution for their offenses, as described earlier. The merits acquired by one who upholds the sutra will be as previously described, bringing about the purity of one's eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Great strength. Countless, limitless, and inconceivable asamkayas of eons ago, there was a Buddha known as Tathagata King Awe-inspiring Voice, one worthy of offerings, one of right and universal knowledge, one of perfect clarity and conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, unsurpassed one, subduing and regulating hero, teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, and world-honored one. His eon was named free of decay. His land was known as Great Accomplishment. In that world, Buddha King Awe-inspiring Voice expounded the Dharma for gods, humans, and asuras. To those who sought to be Shravakas, he taught the Dharma of the Four Noble Truths so that they might transcend birth, old age, sickness, and death and reach nirvana. To those who sought to be Pratyeka Buddhas, he taught the Dharma of the 12 links of dependent arising. For Bodhisattvas aspiring to anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi, he taught the Dharma of the 6 paramitas, which culminate in the wisdom of a Buddha. Great strength. Buddha King Awe-inspiring Voice had a lifespan of eons equal in number to the grains of sand in 400,000 kotis of nayutas of Ganges rivers. His proper Dharma remained in the world for as many eons as the motes of dust in a single Jambudvipa. His semblance Dharma age remained in the world for as many eons as the motes of dust in one world system. After benefiting living beings, he entered parinirvana. After the ages of his proper Dharma and semblance Dharma had ended, yet another Buddha appeared in this Buddha land, also known as Tathagata King Awe-inspiring Voice, one worthy of offerings, one of right and universal knowledge, one of perfect clarity and conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, unsurpassed one, subduing and regulating hero, teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, and world-honored one. He was followed by 20,000 kotis of Buddhas who appeared in succession, all with the same name. When the first Tathagata King Awe-inspiring Voice entered parinirvana, his proper Dharma perished. In the semblance Dharma age that followed his parinirvana, bhikṣus of overbearing pride assumed power. At that time, there was a Bodhisattva bhikṣu known as Never Slighting. Great strength. For what reason was he called Never Slighting? Whenever this bhikṣu met a bhikṣu or a bhikṣuṇī, an upāsaka or an upāsika, he would bow and praise him or her, saying, "I deeply respect all of you and dare not slight you." Why? You are all practicing the Bodhisattva path and shall become Buddhas. This bhikshu not only read and recited sutras, but he also made obeisance, to the extent that as soon as he saw members of the fourfold assembly from afar, he would deliberately approach them, bow and praise them, saying, "I dare not slight you, for you shall all become Buddhas." Within the fourfold assembly, there were some who grew irate due to their impure minds. They reviled him with abusive words, saying, "Where did this senseless bhikshu come from? He says, 'I dare not slight you,' and then gives us predictions, saying we shall become Buddhas. We do not need such false predictions." In this way, for many years he was scolded and reviled, but he never got angry. Instead, he would always respond, "You shall become Buddhas." People would then beat him with staves and sticks, or throw tiles and stones at him. He would run off, stand at a distance, and shout, "I dare not slight you, for you shall all become Buddhas." For this reason, the bhikṣus, bhikṣuṇīs, upāsakas, and upāsikās of overbearing pride gave him the name Never Slighting. When this bhikshu's life was coming to an end, he heard in space the entire 200 million kotis of verses of the Dharma Flower Sutra previously taught by the Buddha King Awe-inspiring voice. He was able to uphold them all, whereupon he attained the purity of the eye faculty, as well as the purity of the faculties of ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, as previously described. Having attained the purity of the six sense faculties, his lifespan increased by 2 million kotis of nayutas of years, and he expounded the Dharma Flower Sutra extensively for others. At that time, the fourfold assembly of bhikshus, bhikṣuṇīs, upāsakas, and upāsikās of overbearing pride who had ridiculed him and called him Never Slighting, saw that he had gained great spiritual powers, as well as the power of eloquence in teaching others with joy, and the power of great, wholesome stillness. Hearing what he said, they faithfully submitted and followed him. Furthermore, this bodhisattva transformed a multitude of tens of millions of kotis of living beings, enabling them to establish themselves in anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi. When his life was over, he encountered 2,000 kotis of Buddhas, all named lamp shining with the brightness of the sun and moon. During the time that their dharma prevailed, he expounded the Dharma Flower Sutra. Because of these causes and conditions, he further encountered 2,000 kotis of Buddhas, all named Cloud-like Sovereignty Lamp King. During the time that their dharma prevailed, he upheld, read, recited, and expounded this sutra for the fourfold assembly, and so attained the purity of his ordinary eye, and likewise of his ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. He expounded the Dharma amid the fourfold assembly with a heart free of fear. Great strength. Bodhisattva Mahasattva Never Slighting made offerings to so many Buddhas, honoring, venerating, and praising them, and thereby planting good roots. He later encountered 10 million kotis of Buddhas, and during the time when their dharma prevailed, he explained this sutra. When his merit was fully perfected, he became a Buddha. Great strength. What do you think? Could Bodhisattva Never Slighting of that time have been anyone else? He was none other than me, myself. Had I not in previous lives upheld, read, and recited this sutra, and explained it to others, I would not have been able to attain anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi so quickly. It is because I, in the presence of previous Buddhas, upheld, read, and recited this sutra and explained it to others, that I attained anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi so quickly. Great strength. Because at that time the fourfold assembly of bhikṣus, bhikṣuṇīs, upāsakas, and upāsikās despised me out of anger. For 200 kotis of eons they did not encounter a Buddha, hear the Dharma, or meet the Sangha. For 1,000 eons they suffered great torment in the Avīci Hells. After fully undergoing their retribution, they once again encountered Bodhisattva Never Slighting, who taught and transformed them, leading them to aspire to anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi. Great strength, what do you think? Could the fourfold assembly who at that time constantly despised this bodhisattva have been anyone else? They were Bodhisattva Bhadrapala and the 500 bodhisattvas now in this assembly, Bhikshu Lion Moon and the 500 other bhikṣus, and Sugata Cetana and the 500 upāsakas. All of them remained steadfast in their resolve for anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi. Great strength. You should know that the Dharma Flower Sutra greatly benefits all the bodhisattvas mahasattvas. It will lead them to the realization of anuttarā samyaksaṃbodhi. Therefore, after the parinirvana of the Tathagata, all the bodhisattvas mahasattvas should constantly uphold, read, and recite this sutra, explain it to others, and write it out. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate his meaning, spoke in verse. In the past, there was a Buddha known as King Awe-Inspiring Voice. Using his limitless spiritual powers and wisdom, he guided all living beings. Gods, humans, dragons, and spirits made offerings to him. After that Buddha passed into nirvana, when his dharma was about to perish, there was a bodhisattva known as Never Slighting. At that time, the fourfold assembly was attached to the dharma. Bodhisattva Never Slighting would approach them and say, "I will not disparage you, for you are walking the path and shall become Buddhas." Hearing this, these people despised, slandered, and reviled him. Bodhisattva Never Slighting endured it all. When his own offenses had been expiated, at the end of his life, he was able to hear this sutra, and his 6 sense faculties were purified. By the power of spiritual skills, his lifespan was increased, and for the sake of others, he extensively taught this sutra. The multitudes who were attached to the Dharma were all brought to accomplishment and led to settle in the Buddha's path through this bodhisattva's teaching. After Never Slighting's life ended, he met with numberless Buddhas, and because he had taught this sutra, he attained countless blessings. Little by little he perfected his merit and quickly realized Buddhahood. Never Slighting of that time was none other than me. At that time the fourfold assembly, attached to the Dharma, heard Never Slighting's words, "You shall become Buddhas," and because of that, encountered numberless Buddhas. The 500 bodhisattvas in this congregation and the fourfold assembly of men and women of pure faith are now in my presence, listening to the Dharma. In previous lives, I exhorted these people to listen to and accept this sutra, the foremost Dharma. I explained it and instructed them, leading them to dwell in nirvana, and in life after life, to uphold a sutra such as this. Only once in kotis upon kotis of myriads of eons, an inconceivable length of time, does one obtain a chance to hear the Dharma Flower Sutra. Throughout kotis upon kotis of myriads of eons, an inconceivable period of time, the Buddhas, world-honored ones, constantly teach this sutra. Therefore, practitioners, after the Buddha's parinirvana, on hearing a sutra such as this, let no doubts arise. You should instead single-mindedly teach this sutra far and wide, so that life after life you may meet the Buddhas and quickly realize Buddhahood.